If you've been to the mall recently, I'm sure you've noticed that everyone is coming down with holiday fever. The lines are more tangled than a box of Christmas lights, and there's no such thing as a quick trip. Luckily, 1-800-Flowers.com makes finding the perfect gift a joyous occasion. Skipping lines and hitting 1-800-Flowers is my holiday answer. And right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving my listeners a special 24 for 24 offer. 24 holiday lights roses for $24. It's only $1 a rose. 24 holiday light roses are the perfect way to give a holiday surprise to that special person on your list. These beautiful bouquets of 24 roses in a rush of Christmas light tones will leave your loved ones stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Holiday roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 24 holiday lights roses for only $24. Unreal deal, but it expires Wednesday. When it comes to meaningful holiday moments, trust in the quality bouquets of 1-800-Flowers.com. To order 24 holiday lights roses for only $24, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Wingo. Hurry, though. Offer ends Wednesday, so get yours now.
Hello, the Internet. It's Jack O'Brien, the founder and former editor-in-chief of Crack.com and the host of the new comedic news podcast, The Daily Zeitgeist, which, as the name suggests, is daily and sporadically in German. If you like Cracked, How Stuff Works podcasts and want to get your news from some of the smartest and funniest comedic and journalistic minds around, well then, this show is going to make you all over the place.
Yeah, I don't think we can use that.
Sure we can. Go to Apple Podcasts to listen and subscribe.
Can I ask you something? What do you get a guy? I looked up net worth.
Oh, don't. Just
Forbes 5 richest hip-hop artists of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Drake.
Yep.
90 million.
Sure.
Number 4, Birdman.
Yep.
110 million.
Okay.
Number 3, Dr. Dre. Here's the jump. I went 90 million, 110.
110, yeah.
Number 3, Dr. Dre, 740 million.
That would be a significant gap.
Number 2 is Jay-Z.
Okay.
At 810.
Okay.
Any idea who number 1 would be?
No.
Anybody out there?
Bueller?
I'm sure you're going to know. Not P. Diddy. Sean
Really?
Combs.
Yeah.
820 million. So he's at 820.
It's close.
10 million.
Yeah.
Separate them, which could be one day on paper money on the market.
Yeah. Pocket change.
That's unreal, though. Jay-Z, 800. What do you get a guy for his birthday?
Whatever.
Hey, we got to buy Jay-Z a present. He's worth 810 mil, has everything you could ever want. What do you get him?
Anything possible.
Get him a keychain?
Astronaut application? I don't know. I mean, what do you get? I mean, it's just whatever. I mean, it's...
that is some stupid money, man.
Is. By the way, it's your birthday coming up soon, right?
December 12th.
All right. What do you want for your birthday?
Well, you can get me a lot more
you want
things.
Jay-Z money?
I'm worth
Jay-Z money?
In comparative, I'm worth $810
yeah.
as opposed to $810 million.
I'm going to give you $811.
Wow.
I think you're worth
What, are you giving me $1 for my birthday?
There you go. I'll
You're
put you
gonna
over
up
the
my
top.
net worth. Thank you.
I'll put you over the top.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We take care of each other here. Again, Paul Finebaum will join us in a minute. But we talked about this, and when I talked about it, I said we made it up. We have some exclusive audio
we do.
Of some of the coaches. Again, not really, but these are some of the reactions. For example, this is Lincoln Riley, the Oklahoma Sooners head coach, who we had on, by the way, this summer, talking about the idea of him getting into the playoffs.
What a day. The two words that come to mind the most are Coach Stoops.
Not really. That was obviously from when he gotten the job.
Yes,
basically
exactly.
Pretending that he gave the entire credit for getting there to Bob Stoops.
And I thought Dabo Sweeney really kind of broke it down well.
Yeah.
Once he found out he was in the playoffs on his upcoming opponent, I thought it was clear and concise.
Yeah, especially have to play Alabama again after the two national championship games. It'll be Clemson and Alabama in a semi. Here's Dabo.
I think that. Obviously, they had a lot. You gotta. This is the playoff, the semifinal. So, heavyweight matchup here with Clemson, Alabama, and
made sense to me. There might be part of him that says, "Really, I got to play those guys again."
Oh my gosh!
I couldn't play somebody else. And obviously Nick Saban, who, by the way, give Saban all the credit in the world.
Mm-hmm.
He went out there and campaigned. He was on game day saying, on Saturday, hey, he went out there and put it on the line. We should be in. So this is Nick Saban now after realizing it worked.
We still have rat poison coming up, really big rat poison. And hopefully we can get our rat poison better because I do think we need to improve.
Yeah. He does. But you know what? It worked.
It worked.
Whatever it did,
campaigning
it worked. Okay.
Even though through all the rat poison.
Well, you know what? No one was saying that about them this weekend. They were going the other way. And, of course, obviously, one of the biggest guys that didn't make it in, Urban Meyer, his Buckeyes and the Big Ten were left out, and it had an Urban feeling like this.
The college football playoffs now, I think it's not amazing, but the fans wanted it, and that's what they got. This is such everybody's got his for their I'm sticking up for our and what can they do better? I don't know.
Man, Urban is going to hate us for
that was actually not what happened, but we thought to our fine producer Jerry who did that let us just say
dilly.
Yeah,
well
there
done.
you go.
Well
Absolutely
you put us in the pit of misery.
Yes, you did.
When it comes to Urban Meyer.
Let's call each of those guys and get them on.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, exactly. No, that'll be a very short conversation. Okay, so we will have our next guest on the show who probably could get all those guys on. Paul Finebaum joins us from the Paul Finebaum Show. Paul, thanks for being with us. And again, the first question that we ask everybody, did they get it right? Did the committee get it right?
They did. I think they used a lot of common sense. They did not let extraneous issues and influences overwhelm them, which they can at times. And what they did is look at the four best, not the four most deserving, the four that fit the metrics or the criterion. So I am pleasantly shocked that this committee did something right.
There's a ringing endorsement.
That is a stamp of approval from Paul.
That is the biggest backhanded compliment I think I've ever heard.
Wow. They got red on their face from that backhand. Okay, so, I understand Ohio State making their case, certainly Alabama, even USC, UCF fans are mad as well. So forgetting some of the particulars of that, let me look at the general thing here, Paul. This has gone now this is the fourth year of it. So in all the 4 years of hearing what they have to say, the interviews with Kirby Hocutt and Reese after the shows on Tuesday, 4 years of this, if you were to critique, and I don't mean about their selections, but about their process, if you were to critique the committee for 4 years about their process and what you think they need the most help in or where they might be off the road a bit, where would that be?
They talk too much, Mike. And what I mean by that is they overwhelm all of us, especially those of us who cover college football, with all these half points and 13th data points. And it gets to the point where we overthink it. I think if the three of us sat down, we'd watch games. Mike, you might look at films and see things that I couldn't. And you would look at who are the better teams. Forget all this other nonsense. And having gone through this mock process, I mean, it was one of the longest afternoons of my life. I mean, I couldn't wait to get out of there because it's just too much for me. I care about the first four. Now, they rank all the 25 because they pick the bowl games. And another thing that I would eliminate, and I'm sure my bosses will not be happy to hear this, is the Tuesday night interview with Kirby Hocutt. It is meaningless. He never says anything, and the reason why he doesn't say anything is because he represents these other 13 people or 12 other people, and I just want to hear some facts and figures. I'd like to take a camera in that room and see what they actually do while they are deliberating, because Kirby Hocutt said last Tuesday night to Reese that there was a narrow difference between Alabama at number 5 and Ohio State at number 8. Okay, well, since then, what happened? Ohio State won a championship. Alabama sat at home and watched TV. And then yesterday, he tells Reese, Alabama was unequivocally better. Can you help me understand how Ohio State winning a game lessened their cause while Alabama didn't do anything?
No, I can't. And that's the problem. You're right. Talk less would help the committee, but of course we don't want that.
We don't want that. Reese doesn't want that.
No, Reese specifically was very upset when we brought that up, Paul. The one thing that we thought was interesting, well, actually a couple of things. We ran this as close as we could through a simulated BCS formula. Instead of the Harris poll, we used the AP poll and put the computer variables in. It spit out the same 4 teams.
Yeah.
So essentially, no matter what formula you used, this was going to be the setup, right?
I think we ought to let America vote next year. I mean, just we vote for president, we vote for all these other things. Listen, the AP poll had it right. I talk more about this than probably anyone in America, so I may be cutting my own throat here. But I think that we get so processed. I mean, I was sitting there yesterday where you guys are now, And I was expecting Ohio State, not because I thought Ohio State should get in, because I had been conditioned to think that. And that's why Kirk fell off his chair, because I think we were all shocked. And I don't know if there's a better system. I mean, I do believe, and I've raised this and no one wants to listen to me, I think we deserve transparency. I really want to know what's going on. Now, I'm sure the coaches in that committee don't want a camera on them, but I think they owe it to us. I mean, even the AP poll, the coaches, and the USA Today poll, they reveal their final list of coaches. The coaches reveal their final top 10, top 25, and they don't like it because it can cause some problems. But I want to know what these people are doing in that room other than talking a good game.
Paul, in actual on-the-field play, the 5 conference championship games, 3 of them were rematches. 2 were won by the team that won it in the regular season. The one that wasn't was Georgia over Auburn. So out of those 5 games, which one to you was the most impressive win by a conference champ?
Well, I thought Georgia's win was pretty dominating, considering they had lost to the same team by 23 points. And by the way, that Georgia-Auburn game, Georgia scored a late touchdown to avoid losing by 30 points. So that was very significant. And Georgia, I was talking to one of our colleagues earlier today, and he said, "Is Georgia really that good?" Yes, they are. Mike, I mean, you saw them in Notre Dame 3 months ago. I mean, they have been one of the most consistent teams in the country. They had one bad day, and it was a place that you should not try to have a bad day. Alabama had that as well. The Big Ten championship game really blew my mind. I think if Ohio State had run Wisconsin over in the second half like they had in the first half, the optics of that would have benefited them to the point where the committee, in spite of what Kirby Hocutt said yesterday, may have put them in. But they were so inept at times, and they nearly lost that game against a Wisconsin team, with all due respect. I know they ran through the season 12-0, but I didn't buy Wisconsin. I never did. And call me an SEC honk, whatever you want, but I think Wisconsin would be fortunate to finish 4th in the SEC.
Well, that's the point. I mean, if you go by just last week's ratings, Paul, I mean, when it was 5-8, Alabama 5, Ohio State 8, you knew that if they didn't do a 59-0 tap dance on Wisconsin, they weren't getting in. One thing that Ohio State meaning. The one thing I think that has been consistent about the committee, which is the one thing we can take away, don't have a horrible loss. Don't have something that makes you wonder about everything else you've seen. And we clearly saw that with Ohio State, and we also saw that with USC when they went up to Notre Dame and got spanked 49-14.
And, Trey, think about SC for a second. I think they have a great team. And I was talking to Coach Helton yesterday, and he was trying to explain that game away. But I know SC and Notre Dame have played. That is one of the traditional games in the country. But if they had played Mercer or Akron that day, they may very well be in right now. Because they had a good look, and they look like a very good team. And Ohio State, interestingly, we talk about the Iowa loss. I think the Oklahoma loss hurt them as well, because they look bad at home, and you just can't do that. You can't afford to lose. I mean, Georgia, Alabama proved you can lose on the road if you're playing a top 10 team, which Auburn was. I mean, Auburn was number 2. And one more thing that I think the committee wrestled with at the end, even though we picked Alabama's schedule apart and Alabama's resume apart, this same committee had them ranked number 1 after Mississippi State and after Mercer. And I think they thought in that room, are we going to lose credibility? Because we felt like their resume and what we saw on tape was good enough to make them number 1 going into the final regular season game of the year.
Paul, switching over to the coaching side, we saw Jimbo Fisher, and I'm going to have some comments on that and the way he left Florida State in a bit, but taking the richest deal ever at Texas A&M. We saw our buddy Herm Edwards get hired at Arizona State. You still have Central Florida, Arkansas, and then Tennessee. I just can't even believe, there's in the NFL, there's the Giant saga, and in college, there's Tennessee of John Curry getting relieved after he's going to maybe hire Mike Leach. Philip Fulmer talked about the talk as he's big-footed them and now is back in place. How is this going to end?
I don't know. The last report I saw was that maybe they're talking to Les Miles. And I think if that is the kind of coach that Fulmer is talking to, then it shows that he's looking for someone that he'll be comfortable with, someone that has experience versus just going out and bringing someone in. Leach is an extraordinary coach. I'm not sure he would work well there. We all know Leach is extremely quirky, does not deal well with administrators, which I think would put him in harm's way at Tennessee. Just ask John Curry. But in the end, I mean, it's one of the most laughable and embarrassing stories I have ever seen, and that's saying a lot considering some of the dumpster fires that I've covered in the SEC over the years. And I think this program has been set back. I mean, just bringing Philip Fulmer back does not answer the problems. I mean, yes, he makes some people feel better. It stops the hemorrhaging, but they still have the same problem they had a week ago. They don't have a coach, and no one really seems to want the job.
Well, that is the case. I mean, it's great that Philip Fulmer is there, but eventually, unless he's going to be the athletic director and the head coach like Barry Alvarez was for a while in Wisconsin.
Not a bad idea.
I mean, where is the possibility for them to go now, Paul?
Well, I think they will go conservative. You'll either see, someone from the retired. I asked Mac Brown yesterday. I was sitting with him. I said, "Have you been called?" He smiled. I'm not sure he hasn't been called, but he also made it clear that's probably not in the cards for him. And I think if you're going to take the Tennessee job, be prepared to get your head handed to you the first year or two, because there aren't many recruits right now with this early signing period sitting around going, "Man, I want to go to Tennessee." So that's a very, very big problem. They'll get a coach this week, I think. It's really not that difficult. Whether they find someone and bring the boys back together again. That's what Fulmer said. Let's bring people that care about this university. Well, that would include Kevin Steele, who is the defensive coordinator at Auburn right now. That would include T. Martin, who's the offensive coordinator at SC. So, I mean, I think you'll see people like that being brought home, whether either one of them is the head coach or not, I'm not sure. And I do think Peyton Manning, for all the attention we want to give him, for all the greatness, his hand has been in the cookie jar in this entire process. I believe Peyton signed off and pushed hard to get Greg Schiano the job.
Well, and that didn't work out,
No.
which is certainly been one of the sagas we've been following. Paul Finebaum joins us. The Paul Finebaum Show shows on Sirius XM Channel 81 today. Listen, as we let you go, I'm just curious here, Paul. How much different would the tenor of your show be today if it was Ohio State over Alabama in the Final Four?
We would probably have to go 13 hours, and it would seem like some revolt from the Crusades. I mean, there would be people with pitchforks at the door trying to get in. I mean, the Alabama fan base would be boiling hot, and I think with some justification, because Alabama's not used to being left out of anything in the Nick Saban era. We've had some volatile shows. Today would have been the all-timer.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't get to have an all-time show then, Paul. That sounds like we missed a golden opportunity.
We did, yeah.
But we see what happens, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for being with us, Paul.
Can't wait. Thanks guys.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We roll on in the final hour of Golic and Wingo. We're on ESPN Radio and ESPN2, presented by Progressive Insurance, and all phone guests will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, including our next guest. Case Keenum, the Minnesota Vikes QB, joins us now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Case, thanks for being with us, and you are taking your game to a whole new level. In your heart of hearts, when the season began, if I told you, okay, Case, you're going to be the starting quarterback, you guys are going to rip together 8 straight wins, and you're going to be a leading candidate for the MVP in the NFL, and you guys will have the number 1 seed through 12 weeks of the NFL season in the NFC, you would have said what?
Well, I might have said something like, I need to wake up now. But I mean, I've been around long enough to know that this league is crazy and this game is crazy, and that's what's so cool about it is that there's a lot of great players, and there's opportunities for a lot of different people, and if you work hard and do the right thing, I think that sometimes that pays off.
Case, let's jump into that a little more because we'll get into the season and what you're doing. It's been fantastic, but so many people just see the surface of high to top draft picks and names out there that are supposed to do well because they're picked high. You're a couple of years in Houston, and then with the Rams, where in Houston you play 8 games and 2 games and 6 games, and last year 10 with the Rams, and now you're in this position. So talk about it from being a backup, always one play, away from being on the field. Depending on the situation, maybe sometimes more. Just the mentality of that, and just how it turned out when you get your opportunity, how you try and make the most of it.
Well, I think you're exactly right. That for me coming out of college, being undrafted, was definitely could have been viewed as a setback for me. I saw it as an opportunity that I had a team that wanted me, even though it wasn't during the draft. They called and said they wanted me to come and be on the team. So was there with the Texans. Coach Kubiak gave me that opportunity, and I knew that if I ever did get an opportunity, I wasn't sure if I was going to get one to actually play. That I would be ready. And from that day on, I worked as hard as I could every single day. Everything I did was preparing to be ready to play when I get out there and get to take meaningful snaps. So it's been a process. It's I've continued to grow. I had another coach that said, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. So I've tried to get better every day.
Well, we can confirm you've gotten better.
Yeah.
Just so you know, yes. You can put a big checkbox by that one. It's been fun to watch. But from your perspective, what has been the biggest difference in the way you've played now as opposed to in previous years? What's the one thing you can see differently about the way you're handling this?
I think I'm playing smarter. I think I'm always trying to put my team in the best possible situation to win. And I think that, being on top of the game plan, being in communication with the guys around me, I've got great teammates around me. I mean, the offensive line is playing incredible this year. I think as far as sacks per pass attempt, I mean, we're ranked up there, really high, if not one of the highest. So, you got to give those guys a lot of credit because, anytime you can drop back and pass and run the ball, too, with confidence, it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You've been, sacked 9 times. I mean, it's been somewhat ridiculous.
That's crazy. When you think about the offensive line from a year ago.
All 5 different players and some different positions as well. It's been pretty amazing. How about from a leadership role? Everybody wants to look at the quarterback to be the leader, if not of the team, of at least the offense. And this is a team over the last couple of years. There was Teddy Bridgewater, and then Sam Bradford comes in, and as you wait and then your opportunity comes, you take advantage of it. When do you feel that you went in that huddle and you were the leader of this offense, you had control of this offense?
Anytime I step in a huddle, I try to take command of that huddle. For us, we're great. We've got a bunch of leaders, a bunch of great leaders in the quarterback room. Sam, Teddy, myself. I mean, we're all on the same page when it comes to we want to win football games, and we'll do whatever it takes. We'll put our team in the best possible situation, and we do a great job of talking, communicating. Really communicating with receivers, offensive line, and protection meetings. So it's a team effort, and it's a team effort in the quarterback room too.
Well, it certainly is, and it's led to sort of this interesting dynamic, Case, where after every game, Mike Zimmer will be pressed, or he'll be either asked the question, or he'll just come out and say it. He'll say, "Well, Case is our starter for next week." It certainly seems like you've done more than enough to solidify the job as being much more than a week-to-week process. How are you handling that part of it?
For me, I'm doing the same thing I do every week, and I am fine with whatever Coach Zimmer decides, or that's not my place. It's not my job. My job is to get ready to play, and that's what I do every week. I put the blinders on. I get asked questions like this, so I have to think about it and talk about it a little bit. But after Monday, Tuesday, I put my blinders back on and I go to work again. And this week it's the Carolina Panthers, and I got a great team too. So we got a great test this week.
Yeah, and you do. And you talk about the great – everybody, when you say Minnesota, they talk about that great defense you have, which without a doubt that you have. But offensively, you guys are sitting there at 5th in the league in total offense. What is making this offense click so well right now?
Well, you're talking about the defense. I think we're playing really, really good complementary football. Last couple of weeks, we've done well with either short fields, turnovers, getting some points. Making sure that we get touchdowns when we get in the red zone. Our defense is holding them to field goals. So, I think complementary football, with the special teams included, I think has really helped us win those close games because, you need all the points you can get when you get down the red zone, especially playing good teams on the road. Again,
the only team in the league, top 5 offense and defense, is the Minnesota Vikings. Pretty impressive.
Balance all the way around. And, you talk about a hot hand. I'm sure you know, but you didn't miss a throw in the second half. Sunday, you went 13 for 13. When was the last time you could say you went through a half and didn't have an incomplete pass?
I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, before yesterday. You know what? Good for you. I phrased that question completely wrong. Before yesterday, Case, when was the last time you had a half where you didn't miss a throw?
I don't think I have, man. It's I don't remember one. Sorry for that.
Well, actually, we have one. Houston, Colorado State in 2007. You also did it. So
there you go. How about
congratulations. That? That's how good our research is here, Case. Our research is as good as you were in the second half.
Hey, that's big time, man.
We find it, and we know it. Now, I know how you're gonna answer this question, but there is the possibility that the Minnesota Vikings could do something that's never happened before, which is we've never had a home team have home field advantage for the Super Bowl. You guys are 10-2, and you guys are the number 1 seed right now. The Super Bowl will be played in Minnesota. We'll be there. Has anybody sort of let that thought trickle into their heads yet?
I think we may have all talked about it, when it first came out where the Super Bowl was going to be. But honestly, I don't think any of us want to be sitting around in late February or March and, with any regrets of what's happened. And I think if we look too far ahead, if we look too far behind, start patting ourselves on the back of what we think we've accomplished so far, that we might be, sitting at home in February when we'd rather be working. So, we're all going to, like I said, put the blinders on, keep our heads down, and really take this thing 1 week at a time because we haven't accomplished anything we want to yet, and it's still all out there in front of us, we got to trust our process, and our process is working hard. We work hard every day. We come into the building. Coach Zimmer makes sure of that, and I think that's important to get where we want to go is just to take it one step at a time.
I loved all the cliches in that answer. That was a
Rock
perfect
solid
answer to give, no doubt about it. But just so we're clear, were you not guaranteeing a spot in the Super Bowl? Is that not what I heard? Come on.
No, that was my Bull Durham. Oh man, I'm just happy.
Nice. Well done.
Well done.
Good Lord willing, things will work out. That's exactly right. Well, look, every once in a while, Case, things like this happen, and it's great to see. It's nice to see that someone who's had it, has sort of been bounced around and has this opportunity is taking the most of it and just running with it. It's really been fun to watch you and the entire Vikings team play. As Bill Belichick likes to say, you can find a lot of different ways to win, and the Vikings are doing that. Big defensive game on Sunday against a high-powered offense, and then, of course, sealing the deal without missing a pass in the second half. Case, thanks for being with us, man.
Thanks, Case.
Appreciate you guys, man. Big fans.
Appreciate that. And that was the biggest cliche and lie he just told. That he was big fans.
Wasn't that good? That was pure bull. And I'm glad he brought up the Bull Durham. Yeah. We need to count the cliches in that answer because, listen, it was exactly the answer he should be giving.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. But it's just fun to count those cliches. It was great.
And this is the thing that makes sports great. You know what I mean? Like, remember when Jeremy Lin just took off a few years ago with the Knicks out of nowhere?
Right.
Look, Case had a great college career, but clearly it hadn't worked out.
Right.
And suddenly now he can do no wrong. And you get these things every once in a while in sports that really it doesn't manufacture itself anywhere else. And that's what makes it, just enjoy the ride, man. run the hot hand.
You know what? I can't wait to talk to him next time. Hopefully we'll talk to him again this year about the run they're on. But
Right.
when he signs his next big deal and that big signing bonus, so what he's going to do with all that.
Yeah, then we'll find out how much of a big fan of ours he really is.
Well, yeah, that's exactly right.
We'll find out then.
But you really like us.
All right, coming up from the top team in the NFC to the top team in the AFC, or one of them, we'll look at the Steelers-Bengals tonight on Monday Night Football. We'll preview it next.
Monday Night Football preview brought to you by Ford, going further so you can. We have Cincinnati and Pittsburgh tonight. And listen, Pittsburgh's going to win that division, Trey.
Yep.
But Cincinnati, they find themselves in a position where they can still do something. Pittsburgh, and then they have Chicago at Minnesota. That'll be a tough one. Home to Detroit, and then at Baltimore. Right now, Baltimore sits at 7-5. Cincinnati at 5-6. Looking at wild card teams right now, the best record at Baltimore has 5 losses. Jacksonville has 4 losses. Baltimore has 5 losses. Then the others have 6, just like Cincinnati. You know, the 3 teams with 6 losses in the West, 6 losses by Buffalo. So if Cincinnati can take care of business tonight, get to 6-6, and then they play Baltimore as well, they could take care of that team and still find their way, you know, kind of backdooring it in, but still getting in. Huge game for them.
It is, and again, you can hear it on ESPN, obviously 8:30 Eastern, and on Spanish language broadcast available on ESPN2, and both available on the ESPN app. You know, Pittsburgh, Mike Tom, we talked about this last week. He sort of put it out there. Hey, he's already looking ahead. He's already looking ahead to Week 15. They got to focus on this game and the next game, because if they want to have any chance, the way the Patriots are playing, they've won 8 straight after that 2-2 start. The only chance they have going down the road is to beat them, is to have that game in the playoffs whenever they would meet up, likely the AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. They have got to focus on this game, and because Cincinnati's defense is sneaky difficult right now.
Agreed.
It really is. And if you don't have Antonio Brown, then you're going to have to try and manufacture things. They can't have 3 turnovers like they did last Sunday night. But back to the college coaching.
Yeah, back to the college. So, again, Scott Frost, the announcement came on during that game, and what a game it was. It was entertaining to some. As a former defensive player, I wasn't overly entertained because there was no defense in the game. But I get why people would be entertained. Overtime win over Memphis, and during the game it was reported Scott Frost was going to be the next coach in Nebraska. Todd McShay did exactly what he should, ask him that right after the game, and I thought Scott Frost answered it perfectly, wants to celebrate with his team. And you mentioned that they did it the right way. Scott Frost is going to coach the bowl game, and then he's going to move on, and the administration already kind of tweeted out how they're happy for him taking the next step. Here's the biggest difference. You go with like a guy like P.J. Fleck, who was at Western Michigan, did what he did, and then moved on to Minnesota. Scott Frost, UCF, moving on to Nebraska. The difference there is the schools they were at, and you sit there and you want to say no disrespect, but you understand what I'm going to say. For coaches that are moving up the ranks, it's a stepping stone school, right?
Yes.
It is. Houston for Tom Herman, who went to Texas. So you kind of almost expect that. When you're a player that commits to a Scott Frost, you know we're at UCF, good school, and they're doing great this year, but they're not a Power 5. They hit a ceiling by going undefeated. They're not in the playoff. So you know that this is a guy that may move on. So I think that's why everybody was kind of happy for him. He was able to talk to the team. But it's the Jimbo Fisher situation. Florida State is that school you try to get to.
Correct.
Now he's a guy who jumped to another school. And as when I talk about there's no perfect way, but you can end it in a better way. As I said, to me, the one main thing that's owed by a coach to the team he's leaving is to talk to the players.
Right.
Face to face. And from all we've heard, Jimbo Fisher did not. Unless I'm wrong with that, but from all the reports I heard, he has not.
Well, didn't the quarterback, DeAndre Francis, put something out there, nothing?
Nothing from him?
Nothing?
So, if Jimbo did that, then, but I'll say this in general. To me, that a coach has to do that. Yeah. A coach has to talk to them. To me, you do. And the timing can be bad sometimes. I completely understand that before you go on your Christmas break, depending on when the firing is. But to me, I think you owe your team that. It's never a good time. And quite honestly, unless it's amicable like it is at UCF, I always say I wouldn't even let the guy coach the bowl game. That coach needs to move on to the next team, get recruiting going, get his assistants going, and the team he left needs to move on as well. But it seems to all be amicable at UCF, so Scott's gonna coach that team, although I bet Nebraska wouldn't mind him being over there and getting going on that already. But to me, coaches owe players that because they can move. Coaches can move, or they threaten to move, and then they get paid a lot more at the place they're at. Well, players are stuck, right? Players, if they want to move, they got to sit for that year. So coaches owe the players that. And from what we heard, Jimbo didn't do it. I hope he did, but if he didn't, to me that is a monster mistake when a coach doesn't do something like that.
And when you say getting more money, no one's ever gotten more money. Jimbo Fisher's getting $75 million over 10 years. Hey, that'll do it for Golic and Wingo. Tomorrow, Tim Hasselbeck and Louis Riddick among the guests. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.